Right then, hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knickknack, I'm the brains behind Knickknack's Daily Teaser, and I also talk about movies, actually when I finally get around to catching one, and I talk about TV shows I'm watching. Over the past few weeks, I've been watching the opening episodes of Series 4 of For All Mankind, and I will try and put the link up in the corner there. I've also been watching the Doctor Who specials, and tonight is let's have a look at the date here. Tonight is the 3rd of December, it's a Sunday. Last night was Saturday the 2nd, and last night I watched Wild Blue Yonder. I wanted to tell you what I thought and see what you think about what I thought about what was happening with the show. Let's move on, shall we? Wild Blue Yonder opens with the by now traditional universe ident and then shifts to show us England in 1666, where Isaac Newton, Nathaniel Curtis, is heading out to his garden to get some fresh air, take some notes, and sit under a nice shady apple tree in the garden. Only for an apple to fall out of the tree and straight onto his head. The apple, alongside quite a few others, has been forced to drop from the tree by the TARDIS that's just materialised at the tree's top. It earns a cheap pun and an apology from the Doctor, David Tennant, and Donna, Catherine Tate, before they say their farewells and fly off into the wide blue yonder of the episode's titles. Post-titles, we see the TARDIS crash into a solid metal wall of an internal room of a mysterious spaceship on the very edge of the universe itself. The Doctor and Donna have a set of problems. There's no apparent living beings on the ship. The maintenance robot certainly isn't talking. And finally, it's getting cold in here. To cap it all off, the TARDIS's onboard HADS system, the Hostile Action Displacement System, has caused the TARDIS to flanish. The TARDIS has fled. Now, what did I make of this episode of Wild Blue Yonder? One thing, and it's a relatively minor thing, was casting mixed-race actor Nathaniel Curtis as Isaac Newton. Effectively, we have a person of colour playing a known white historical figure. To me personally, that's as inappropriate as casting Daniel Craig as Malcolm X, or more relevantly for Doctor Who fans, casting white actor John Bennett as the Chinese character Li Hsien Chang in The Talons of Weng-Chiang, or not casting a trans actress like Yasmin Finney in the role of Rose Noble. It's on a par, I've said. There's a certain amount of appropriateness involved with all of those castings, I think. With that said, and before you think about cancelling me, Curtis put in a capable, good performance, even if it's a very short, capable, good performance. I don't know if I would have originally cast Curtis in the first place, but having seen his good performance in this episode, I would not object if he was cast again as Isaac Newton. Like I say, he puts in a very capable performance, which is the important bit. It's more important, far more important than any issues I might have. On other fronts, the design work is pretty damn good, actually. For starters, the robot that's the key part of the plot is absolutely wonderful. Okay, the designers could have made a nice, shiny 1950s robot, one in the style of Amazing Magazine's robot covers, but no, they went for a beaten-up looking thing, a robot that's got dents and flaking paint and rust. I think Doctor Who has decided to go definitely slightly cyberpunk there. 40 years after the release of Ridley Scott's grimy-looking Alien, and several years after the release of Neuromancer, Doctor Who's team have figured out that rusty robots look good. The other bit, or bits of design, set-wise, the corridor where so much of the action takes place is superb. Granted, the shape reminds me of the corridor set of Event Horizon, at least the shape definitely does. It's a similar ovoid shape. And it gives life to the old Doctor Who cliche that our heroes spend a lot of time running up and down endless bloody corridors. What can I tell you? It's a cliche, but it's one well used here. The ship itself, in terms of what we saw of the interiors, things like the server room, the other bits and bobs, the water coolers that David Tennant's 14th Doctor is working on, again put me in mind of the Event Horizon in Event Horizon. It's a much spruced up, lighter version of the Event Horizon, designed to look more a Space Odyssey than a grimy cyberpunk wreck. But those interiors definitely gave me a Banksian Event Horizon feel. The exterior, by contrast, whilst still looking somewhat Banksian, it put me in mind of the colony ship in the 12th Doctor stories, World Enough Time and the Doctor Falls. Why it reminded me of the Capaldi era ship, I'm not too sure, but it was possibly the broad, tubular shape. I'm assuming there's only so many designs a production designer can work with because they will look visually impressive. There's only so many they will look like, especially if they've seen Event Horizon or the icon that is 2001 A Space Odyssey. The Discovery 1, the ship in that film, is where I suspect a lot of production designers will be getting their ideas from. It's an icon, or even more so than the various Star Destroyers and Death Stars in Star Wars. But at any rate, the design work I felt was something very good. It's beautiful to look at, especially when that interior set changes. The walls retract, slide, and move out again. It's quite something to see. As for the story itself, let's be frank, Wild Blue Yonder is an old-fashioned two-handed drama. It's possibly old-fashioned is the wrong term for an episode where there's four characters. The Doctor and Donna and their evil twins, duplicates made from some sort of energy that's able to lock themselves into a shape so long as their creatures, or the creatures they're trying to duplicate, are thinking fast, and panicking to a certain extent. It is a cleverly done idea that also does have some grim aspects. We don't find out about the ship's large, horse-like alien captain because she's come up with the only way to beat the creatures, or the only other way to beat the creatures. It's a very clever and very new episode. I mentioned in my write-up and video for last week's episode that the Star Beast seemed a little too retro for me to a certain extent. As good as it was, as entertaining as it was recycling both old actors and an old story. Admittedly a rewritten one in an interesting new way, but it's an old story. That's not necessarily an accusation I can throw at Wild Blue Yonder. It is fresh, it is new, and in featuring the last performance of the late Bernard Cribbins, God rest his soul, Wild Blue Yonder is a beautiful thing to watch. Right, as a final thought, and with all of that lot said, done, dusted, and piled under a carpet in a small entertaining heap that makes you go ouch whenever you tread on it, what did I think of Wild Blue Yonder? Did I enjoy it? Enough to want to see the next episode, The Giggle. Yes, I did. Wild Blue Yonder is one hell of an episode with one hell of a cliffhanger, and sadly for all of us, not enough of Bernard Cribbins, but there we go. Will I be watching The Giggle on the 9th of September and releasing my written and video reviews on the 10th? Yes, I will. In between now and then, I'll be watching House Divided, the next episode of For All Mankind, on the 4th of December, tomorrow, and I'll be putting my written and video reviews up on the 5th. Feel free to subscribe both to the blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar, and to my YouTube channel. Until then, I will leave you with the words of number 6 himself. Be seeing you.